This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you it went exactly as I thought it was going to. Welcome in. Once again, we are live here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Appreciate you guys spending your Thursday with us. Jam-packed show for you guys. Of course, a lot to get to with the Atlanta Hawks. Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons will join us. I have more thoughts on the Falcons as we get closer to the draft, just 2 weeks away from the Falcons scheduled to make the 8th overall selection in the NFL draft. So we've got a lot to get to today, and let's get right to it. Last night, the Hawks get an impressive win over the Charlotte Hornets, 132-103. And I said in the open, it went exactly as I thought. Yesterday, we were talking about what if the Hawks were to lose that game and the narrative and everything else. And I thought it was going to be a much closer game. And that was being sarcastic, obviously, when I said it went the way I thought it was going to. I did not think it was going to go like that at all. Like, I did not even anticipate that it would go the way it did. And it went down very smoothly for the Atlanta Hawks, which is great, right? I mean, that was a game that I think we want the Hawks to play on the regular. Like, that was a game that we want the Hawks to be able to come out and play every single time. Now, that's not realistic. Getting 6 players in double figures is going to be tough to do every single night. But still, it's the kind of game where the Hawks got exactly what they needed from their supporting cast. Like, it was more than just Trae. And oh, by the way, don't be misled. I mean, Trae is the star, and there is no doubt that he makes everything go. But Trae didn't really have a great night last night. I know that was the talk, and I know that was what the post-game interview was about. And last time I checked, guys, 8 for 24 is not a good shooting percentage. It's 33%. Like, that's not good. He was 1 for 7 from 3. Trae is nearly a 40% free throw shooter. That's not good. Only got to the line 8 times, made 7 of 8 of them. Remember how we talked about his box scores and what they look like. When he's having those low shooting nights, he better be getting to the free throw line double-digit times, or he better be dishing out a ton of assists. And he did that last night. He had 11 assists. But here's what made last night so much more effective was 22 from DeAndre Hunter, 15 points and 17 boards from Clint Capella. He had 18 points from Gallinari, 13 from Kevin Huerter, went 3 for 4 from 3. And then, of course, Bogey Bogdanovic, 13 points for him and 3 for 7 from 3. Like, you got such a well-rounded effort. And when Trae is not having a great night, because if Trae has that sort of night against Cleveland, it's going to be a much closer game because Cleveland defensively is that much better than the Charlotte Hornets are. And so I appreciated seeing the level of well-roundedness, if that's a thing, like how much everybody got involved and how much the entire team played like a team last night. And if they get that, if they get more than 1 or 2 other guys being this effective when John Collins isn't in the lineup, then guess what? They're going to be okay, right? John Collins is so important to what the Hawks do offensively as he is defensively. He's so important because he can draw other people away. He is a legitimate other scorer. You're not getting 22 points a night from DeAndre Hunter. Hell, you're not getting 15 points a night from DeAndre Hunter. Like, Kevin Huerter and Gallinari and all these other guys, they're not putting up those numbers. Those aren't averages for those guys. And so last night was not an average night for the Atlanta Hawks without John Collins. Now, when John Collins is there, Trae can do a lot of different things because the defenses are forced to go guard Collins. They're forced to respect his ability to score 20 points a night because he can, right? He's done that in his career. They don't have to respect the other guys as much. And with Collins out, they need a full, complete effort, and they get it. So it was an easy win, and they cruise to it. And I think the other part of that's super important, Trae Young scored 24 points last night. He played 34 minutes. That's it. Didn't have to play 38. Didn't have to play 40 in a playoff atmosphere, in a playoff game. And typically, sometimes that's what it's going to take. If things were a lot closer, Trae would have pushed more. But think about how fresh their legs are going to be in this game against Cleveland. Not an advantage that Cleveland had. They had to push all the way against Brooklyn for 48 minutes to try and win that game because they were close enough to do it. So the Hawks may have a little bit of a rest advantage against Cleveland. Now, when you look at the matchup with the Cavaliers, what's important to understand is that the Cavaliers statistically are a very good defensive team. They finished 5th in the NBA in points allowed. They are sandwiched between two teams, the Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors. The Hawks have won and covered 8 of their last 10 games. You know where their 2 losses were to? The Heat and Toronto. I bring that to light to say that good defensive teams like the Heat and Toronto give the Hawks fits offensively. Cleveland has the ability on defense to do that. Now, they're missing Jared Allen, and that's been a huge, huge loss for them because over the last 10 games, Cleveland's given up 113 points per game, which is 8 more than they've averaged on the season. When the season ended, they finished at 105. They're giving up 113. And in reality, again, with the loss of Allen, that number is probably more like 104 that they've given up during the season. So this is not a Cavaliers defense right now that is playing at the most optimum level. And the Hawks are ripe for the picking of this Cavaliers team at this moment. I know how bad the Hawks have been on the road. That is fair. They don't score as much on the road as they do at home. That is fair. But Cleveland's offense cannot keep up with the Hawks. This is all about Cleveland's defense. It's all about the Cavaliers' ability to be able to slow down the Atlanta Hawks, because if they can't, the Hawks will win and cover this game easily. It's that simple. The Hawks are a more talented offensive team. They showed everybody last night on a national stage, don't mess with us. You don't want to play us right now because when we're clicking, everybody's in trouble. And that's fair. You know, and Trae is getting his mojo back right at the right time. And I expect him to have another big night. If he doesn't and the Hawks lose, that's like almost okay. Like that's the acceptable way to lose this game. For Trae to have a huge night, Trae to have an off night rather, and then lose this game. Trae can't have a 35-point night and everybody else stink to join up and the Hawks lose. Like that's not the scenario you want, because all that does is bring to light what we talked about yesterday, that there's not enough around him, that they need another star, that they need more, because right now, objectively, at best, they're the 6th best team in the Eastern Conference. Like you don't want that scenario to play out. If Trae Young has an awful night and the Hawks lose, we all get it. We all understand. Wasn't his night. You move on. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think playoff Trae is going to be playoff Trae, and they're going to win, and they're going to head on to go play the Miami Heat, which is a completely different, team and monster altogether. But that said, take care of business tomorrow night in Cleveland, and you're on to the NBA playoffs. So congrats to the Hawks. Again, they win and cover last night, by the way, and the total went under. You ever heard of the term closing line value? If you haven't, it's a thing in this betting world. If you got the total last night at 235.5, you keep your closing line value trophy and your money, because it ended up at 235 as LaMelo Ball tried to push that total over at the very last second. But you guys don't have to worry about that kind of stuff if you're not into the gambling. You know I am. All right, we have a lot more to do. I want to get into another mock draft that came out for the Atlanta Falcons next, because it speaks to me. Plus, Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons will join us. Stay with us right here. It's A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search for Locked On Sports ATL.